Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for Season 1 of the anime SSSS Gridman on Toonami. And I actually really enjoyed this one. It only comes in at about 12 episodes, but I thought it was pretty enjoyable. It had a good amount of, action, character development, and just kind of, classical kind of Gridman kind of things going on. Now, I know of Gridman because of how they pretty much did the kind of Power Rangers effect and kind of did the same thing with that kind of show in about the 90s or whatnot, early 2000s potentially. I don't know. It's been a while for that. So I was like, oh, okay, it's pretty cool that they did this, gave this anime another try, and it's also on given in an anime form by Studio Trigger, which they're pretty good, and they do a very good job here because you're like, okay, kind of computer kind of stuff with the whole Gridman and everything going on, kaiju and giant kind of battles like that, definitely should be in their wheelhouse, and they work it very well because you got the mixture of the 2D animation and the 3D animation that pops up for the majority of what happens with the Gridman fights. So the conceit of this is we center on Yuta Hibiki, who he wakes up without any memories. He's got amnesia. He runs into the other two people that come to form the Gridman Alliance, Utsumi and Rika. Rika owns the shop that has this thing called junk that has Gridman in it, and Utsumi is the friend that is pretty much into kaiju. And of course, things start going completely crazy with kaiju attacks, and Yuta is the only one that can pretty much bring out Gridman to fight, and Gridman has this mission to do something. He doesn't know it at first, and neither does Yuta. But they get together and pretty much it follows kind of more of an episodic kind of format at first, where it's like, oh, okay, they're just fighting all these kind of random kaiju before we get into the main story of the kind of fourth character, Akane Shinjo, who is the person who is allied with Alexis, who helps her to bring her kaiju creations to life. And it gets a little bit deep into about halfway through before you're like, oh god, this girl is really kind of fucked up and evidently is the god of this world. She kind of created it to hide from stuff that was going on in her world, and she's making all these kaiju and makes the city and makes support kaiju that fix everything after she kind of destroys it, because she pretty much makes kaiju just to kill certain people and remove them. It's really kind of fucked up. She even created someone to fight Gridman, this anti-kaiju kind of dude, and she just treats him like shit. She doesn't give him food. She doesn't try and do anything with him. Just tells him to kill people, and at one point telling him to kill Yuta because she pretty much figured out he was Gridman. And it's Jesus, she really doesn't care about this dude at all. And at first I thought he would kind of be a throwaway kind of gag dude because Gridman keeps beating the shit out of him. And more like he keeps kind of failing to take down Gridman. Not Gridman just going out of his way to kind of beat the unholy, merciless fuck out of him. And seeing his character development was kind of a really cool thing because you don't really expect it before you're like, wow, that's kind of awesome. But she keeps getting more and more frustrated. It is really, you kind of have a certain empathy for kind of what she's going through before you're like, she's killing people for her own kind of perverse amusement and just because they were getting in her way. She stabs Yuta at one point because she wants to take out Gridman so that way she can continue doing whatever she's doing. And Alexis, we find out at the end, is doing this to pretty much feed off her emotions and force her to make kaiju so that way he can keep just feeding off her negative energy because he's an immortal being, and that's how he kind of gets his kicks and gets his energy. Now, my only negative with that really is we don't get that until the last episode. We understand there's some kind of strange relationship between Alexis and Akane, but we essentially get a giant info dump as everything's kind of going on and wrapping up. That's my only real negative. And then we get some weird fan service every now and then that mainly starts at the beginning of the series, and then it just disappears as we get further in because we got plot things going on. I don't have any problem against fan service. It's just okay, cool, alright, and moving on. You know what I mean? It's these are high school kids. No, thank you. But if you're in the high school demographic, there you go. That will be your thing. But they focus on that typical kind of like power friendship kind of thing, trying to understand what's going on with the characters and everything. And we find out that Akane did build this world and built all these people. So we see some kind of clashes going on, especially with Rika, because Akane tells her that she pretty much made her to be her friend, and that made it so that everybody would have a harder time hating her and would like her. It's like, damn, that's kind of fucked up. And the thing is, it only goes surface level with that kind of thing of free will versus predetermination like that. So, but the thing is, you've got like 12 episodes and trying to like do a lot of different kind of things. Also bringing up that Gridman's pretty much not in pieces, but has his parts split as we get through, as he's got, of course, the Neon Genesis high school students, as they're called, where he's got Caliber, Max, Bort, and Vit, who do the different kind of things, have their own access codes, and are able to do like drills, jets, swords, and kind of a weird kind of tanky ass thing to augment Gridman's abilities, so that way he can more effectively take on the kaiju. Now, we also get towards the end that it helps. It's like, oh, we need to combine, use the power of like our hearts and friendship pretty much to get him to his ultimate form. And we find out that actually we haven't really been following Yuta the whole time. It's actually been Gridman inside of Yuta, as Yuta's been like asleep the whole time. And I'm like, all right, interesting kind of twist. And they're able to kind of like get everything together, and we get the old school looking Gridman at the end that's more 2D, and it works pretty well. I'm like, all right, nostalgia, there it goes. That worked out pretty well. It's a nice callback, and it works effectively. It's whenever you're doing a series like this, you have to use nostalgia effectively, because you want to do your own kind of thing with it, and that's cool. But you don't want to be, if you want to bring in the nostalgia, don't slavishly devote yourself to it to a certain degree. You got to find that kind of balance. I don't mind nostalgia being used, but if you try and do an improper balancing act, you're going to try and give certain people nostalgia that's not going to kind of work, and it's going to kind of screw over your new people as well. This one didn't do that, as we're like, all right, Gridman, Hyper Agent, needs to go back to his place and gets his people together. It's like, all right, we got to take out this Alexis dude. And of course, they're giving the giant info dump that's going on with the plot expositioning and all that. And we see that he's pretty much trying to destroy everything, and even turned Akane into a kaiju to kind of continue feeding off of her negative emotions. But towards the end of the series, Auntie has progressed so much that he's turned himself from a kaiju into Grid Knight, which was a really kind of cool transition that I wasn't really expecting. He's like copied Gridman so much that he's become like Gridman. And the thing is, when Gridman and his compatriots are leaving to the hyperspace kind of place, they can't take him because the debt can't be paid. Now, that was the only kind of weird thing that was like brought up. They also bring up that Yuta's got feelings for Rika, but nothing is really dealt with, as Yuta pretty much just wakes up at the end of the series. Everything has been fixed. They have used the power of their mortality and their potential to beat down Alexis, which I understand what they're trying to say, but they needed a little bit more time to kind of like expound on that a little bit better, because it's like, okay, I understand, because they are mortal, they have more incentive to push their potential beyond their breaking limits to take on this fucking monstrosity that feeds on negative emotions, and is like, hey, fuck you, buddy. And they're able to, of course, fix everything kind of going on and take down Alexis and have him captured by Gridman. So everything kind of gets back to normal. Yuta's pretty much waking up. Rika and Utsumi are kind of dealing with everything that they have occurred throughout the whole series. And it really ends showing us where Akane's world is going into our real world, which was a nice touch, as she kind of wakes up. And we see that Rika had given her a going away gift, and it is in the real world with her, which is pretty cool, blending that kind of boundary between the real world and the digital world. It's like, yeah, that worked out pretty well. And I really enjoyed it. It's only 12 episodes, so I would definitely recommend it to anybody that's into kind of like Power Rangers kind of things, those kind of like Ultraman, Gridman kind of things. This definitely was a lot better than I thought it was. Oh, I heard a lot of good things about it, but I was like, oh, cool. I thought there'd be like Monster of the Week kind of stuff, but they didn't. They honored that Monster of the Week and effectively uh, folded it into a really compelling story of like, okay, like people dealing with negative emotions and being kind of like in hard spaces and trying to find help and trying to be kind of like the best person that you can be while stopping kind of like some horrific stuff going on and not letting it get you down. It's that typical kind of stuff, kind of cliched, tropish kind of stuff, but it's executed in a very good way and a very good package where you got your character development going on. It's not incredibly deep and incredibly complex, but that doesn't make it bad because 12 episodes got nice action that's nice to follow, clean to follow because I understand shaky cams and trying to make it look kind of real and gritty and dirty, but action is supposed to help convey what's going on, and this has nice clean action so you can see what's going on, see how people have to deal with weird kind of shit going on, and it's really kind of frenetic and kinetic in certain instances. So you're like, all right, cool, this is bringing me into what's going on, and the animation just works really fucking well. There's very few kind of studios that you can know for like their quality, and Trigger is definitely one of them. And you give them, I really love their character designs in this and how fluid things look. And then of course when you get them into action scenes, these people know what they're doing. I'd be like, yeah, these are the people that understand how like John Wick works. They're like, yeah, let's do this kick-ass action scene. And granted, I understand that they've been operating longer than John Wick has been out, but it's like, yeah, they understand that action scenes are pretty awesome and you need to give them their due and make, like, if you're gonna do something fucking awesome like powering up Gridman to his full potential, you do shit with it and you watch it like, all right, you don't pull out like a super uber weapon and not show why it's a super uber weapon. You do that shit. So I would highly recommend this if you are into that kind of genre and if you're into character development, action, and just really good animation. I thoroughly enjoyed this and can't wait to see kind of other stuff that's going on with it because I read somewhere that they're doing some kind of sequel series, I believe, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. So those are my opinions on the anime. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.